Since ancient times, the Mer have walked Tamriel. From the Dwemer and their technological prowess, to the Ayleids and their sprawling empire, every race of Mer has had an undeniable impact on Tamriel. Amongst these races, there is one in particular that is famous for its culture and proficiency in magic. This race is known as the High Ones, the Cultured Ones, or most commonly, the Altmer. Fact 1. The Summerset Isles. The Altmer homeland is the Summerset Isles, located southwest of the main body of Tamriel. There are 3 major islands in the Summerset Isles: Summerset, Auradon, and Artaeum. Summerset, which is the largest of the 3, is home to green farmland, woodland parks, and ancient towers. Alinor, the capital of the Summerset Isles, is located in the southwestern part of Summerset. It has been described as a city made from glass or insect wings, a hypnotic swirl of ramparts and impossibly high towers designed to catch the light of the sun and break it into its component colors. Lilandril is a city located to the northwest and has had internal wars with Alinor multiple times in Altmer history. The highest mountain in Summerset is called Etten Nur, and at its peak is the city of Cloudrest. Here lie buildings made from strangler vines, coral, and other peculiar substances, making for an odd mixture of Slode and Aldmer architectural styles. The Crystal Tower of Summerset was once the pinnacle of learning magic in all Tamriel, but it was destroyed during the Oblivion Crisis. Other important places include Shimmerine, otherwise known as the City of Lights, and Sunhold, a city located on its own island. Auradon is the second largest island and located east of Summerset. It is called the crown jewel of the Summerset Isles by virtue of its beauty, and is home to some of the friendliest and most outgoing Altmer, who have been hardened by generations of repelling invaders. The largest cities of Auradon are the ports Firsthold, Skywatch, and Volkelgard. Artaeum is the smallest of the 3 major islands and located south of Auradon. It is home to the Psijic Order and is notorious for disappearing at various periods in history. Around the founding of the Mages Guild in the First Era, it disappeared for nearly 500 years. It disappeared again 100 years before the Skyrim Civil War and has not yet reappeared. Artaeum is composed of idyllic pastures, silent lagoons, misty woodlands, and unique Psijic architecture. The Sephora Tower is an important landmark of Artaeum and used by the Psijics in their rituals. Unfortunately, this is the extent of the major information we have on the geography of the Summerset Isles. The Altmer allow few foreigners into the Isles, making it a rather mysterious province. Fact 2. The creatures of the Summerset Isles. Many fascinating creatures have inhabited the Summerset Isles throughout history. The sunbirds of Alinor were large birds made from Magnus, Nirn's son. They are famous for their expeditions to Aetherius in ancient times, but were eventually dissolved due to the immense magicka expenditures required to reach Aetherius. The Fairy, or Fae, are beings that have lived on Tamriel and most notably the Summerset Isles, long before recorded history. Giatius are a variant of Fae considered to be godlike beings that appear as a man or a group of men formed from the earth. They were defeated by the Aldmer long ago, and are now only seen in the sculptures and tapestries of the Summerset Isles. Iliadi are a variant of Fae said to be giants taller than trees, with eyes that cover their heads. Sylphim are a minor variant of Fae, said to appear surrounding Giatius. The Fae are thought to be extinct today, but perhaps there's a possibility for their return in the future. Today, the Summerset Isles are home to eagles, which are an important symbol for the Altmer, Kana, exotic birds bred for their beauty, and Welwa, strange holy beasts with horns and savage teeth. Fact 3. The Slode and their wars with the Altmer. The Slode are an amphibious slug-like race that has clashed with the Altmer many times throughout history. They're known for their skills in necromancy, biological warfare, and other dark arts. The Slode's homeland is the island kingdom of Thras, but in the early years of Nirn, they counted the Summerset Isles as part of their realm. At some point, the Slode either left the Summerset Isles or were driven away by the Aldmer, but in year 1301 of the First Era, they returned and carried out a brutal siege of Skywatch. In the middle of battle, a slowed warcaster consumed volatile alchemic substances, then leapt to the base of the cliff, resulting in a massive explosion. This toppled the city's massive citadel, allowing the slowed to achieve a decisive victory. Fortunately, the slowed were unable to hold Skywatch for long, and were quickly removed. Around Era 1 year 2200, the slowed engineered a deadly virus known as the Thracian Plague that killed over half of Tamriel's population. In response, the races of Tamriel came together and formed the All Flags Navy, then sailed to Thrace and butchered the slowed. This strategy was brutally effective, and the slowed's attacks on Tamriel dropped dramatically. From Era 1 2911 to 2917, the slowed were defeated yet again by the Altmer in the War of Uvachil. This war is remembered for slowed use of necromantic rituals and infernal machines. There are also rumors that the slowed used airships to carry corpses. For a time, it was believed that the slowed had died out, but recent events revealed they have survived and Thrace has risen again. Fact 4. The history of the Aldmeri Dominion. The Aldmeri Dominion is named for the Altmer, an ancient race of Mer and ancestors of the Altmer. There have been 3 Aldmeri Dominions in Tamriel history. In year 580, after hearing the imperial city had been taken over by Molag Bal worshippers, the Altmer grew afraid of disaster the young races could bring to Tamriel. So, they reached out to the Bosmer and Khajiit, then formed the first Aldmeri Dominion. The leader of this alliance was Queen Iren, one of the youngest rulers in Altmer history at a mere 28 years old. The first Dominion became one of 3 major factions vying for power during the interregnum of the Second Era, alongside the Ebonheart Pact and the Daggerfall Covenant. In Second Era 830, heirs to Valenwood's Cameron dynasty began fighting amongst one another. In response, the Altmer set up a provisional government called the Thalmor, ancestors of the modern Thalmor, on behalf of Cameron Anaximes. Any opposition to them was silenced, and Cameron Anaximes swore allegiance to the King of Alinor, resulting in the formation of the Second Aldmeri Dominion. Soon after, the Altmer struck a treaty with the Khajiit, and elsewhere entered the Dominion as well. For a time, the Second Aldmeri Dominion was the most stable power in all Tamriel, until Tiber Septim came to power. Tiber Septim obtained the Numidium, an artificial god built by the Dwemer, from the Tribunal of Morrowind, then used the Numidium to brutally conquer the Summerset Isles and effectively end the Second Aldmeri Dominion. The Third Aldmeri Dominion is less of an alliance and more of an empire. It began in 4th Era year 22, when the modern Thalmor rose to power. Originally, the Thalmor were nothing more than a fringe group ridiculed by the masses. But during the Oblivion Crisis, the Thalmor had great success in fending off the Daedra, allowing them to garner support amongst the Altmer. In 4th Era year 22, the Thalmor overthrew the imperial administration of the Summerset Isles and established the Third Aldmeri Dominion. In 4th Era year 29, Thalmor sympathizers in Valenwood successfully staged a coup, and the province was then incorporated into the Aldmeri Dominion. In 4th Era year 89, the moons Mazur and Secunda disappeared from the night sky for 2 years. This period was known as the Void Nights and caused mass panic and elsewhere, for the moons are an important symbol for the Khajiit. When the moons eventually returned, the Thalmor took credit for restoring them, and the Khajiit willingly broke away from the Empire and joined the Aldmeri Dominion. Between 4th Era 171 and 175, the Great War took place, in which the Thalmor were victorious. The Empire was forced to sign the White Gold Concordat, which outlawed Talos worship in the Empire and imposed many other sinister Thalmor demands. However, Hammerfell rejected the White Gold Concordat, then seceded from the Empire and went to war with the Aldmeri Dominion. The Redguards were able to fight the Dominion to a standstill, and so they completely withdrew from Hammerfell. Thalmor documents have hinted that they intend to wage another Second Great War against the Empire at some point in the future. Fact 5. The Altmer Culture and Religion. The Altmer are a proud race that has always implicitly believed in its own racial superiority, albeit generally not to the extremity nor the extent of the Thalmor today. Through selective breeding, the Altmer have largely maintained the features of their ancestors, the Altmer, and are the elven race closest to their ancestors. If one is to dine at an Altmeri dinner table, they must follow a specific set of rules. Always refill the glass of the diner to your left when it is low. Refilling your own glass is considered barbaric. Never ever use the wrong utensil. And do not eat more than the most prestigious attendee at any function. The primary deity of the Altmer pantheon is Ariel, the Altmer representation of the time god and the embodiment of the beginning of time. The Altmer revere Trinimac, once known as strongest of the Aedra, and responsible for ripping Lorkhan's heart from his chest during the Dawn era. In the Merethic era, Trinimac was defeated and devoured by Boethia, then transformed into the Daedric prince Malakath. Magnus, architect of the mortal realm, god of magic, and responsible for creating the sun, is another important deity for the Altmer. Finaster, patron god of the Summerset Isles, taught the Altmer to live longer. Xerxes, god of secret knowledge, scribe to Ariel, and author of the Ogma Infinium, is also revered by the Altmer. Finally, worship of certain Daedra was and still is to some extent commonplace in the Summerset Isles, although Daedra worship has become less acceptable following the Oblivion Crisis. Lorkhan, the being responsible for the creation of Nirn, is the devil figure of the Altmer religion. While men believe they were created from nothing by Lorkhan, the Altmer believe they descended from the Aedra. In order to create the mortal realm, Lorkhan tricked the other Aedra into giving up their divinity, meaning as descendants of the Aedra, Lorkhan is indirectly responsible for robbing the Altmer of their divinity. For this reason, the Altmer acknowledge that Lorkhan is a divine being, but view him as an evil entity. Some believe Talos ascended to divinity by mantling or taking the place of Lorkhan, which may be part of the reason for Thalmor hatred of Talos. According to a Thalmor commentary on Talos, the Thalmor plot consists of 3 parts. First, to erase Talos, whose presence keeps the souls of the Altmer bound to the mortal plane. Because gods are given power by mortal belief, the Thalmor may already be well on their way to this first goal in banning Talos worship. Second, to remove man not just from this world, but from the very pattern of possibility, so the idea of them can be forgotten and thereby never again repeated. This objective appears to be the eradication of man not only from the current Kalpa, but the eradication of the very idea of man, so they cannot appear in any subsequent Kalpa as well. Third, with Talos and the Sons of Talos removed, the world of mortals will be over, and the Altmer will be able to regain their divinity. In sum, the Altmer are a powerful race with rich culture and traditions. The Altmer believe they are the most cultured and most powerful race in Tamriel. Given that they are ancestors of the Altmer, they are the strongest mages on Tamriel, and one of the most dominant forces in Tamriel in history. This is an argument scholars find difficult to refute.